Well, let's take a look at some of the programming that you do by category here, and as we look at some of them, we see mediation, which we've begun to talk about, bullying prevention, training, and youth aid panels. Now, the mediation aspect of this, so you're contacted by the court, someone is referred to you by the court, someone calls you on the phone.
A policeman can give our card to two neighbors fighting. You can say, you should call these folks. We work with the police departments in the county, and they're all aware of us, and some are more involved in it than others, but we've actually had police officers give combatants in the driveway our card and say, you should call these folks, they might be able to help you. So there's a lot of ways. A lot of people
are reasonable people, and reasonable people can have disagreements, or based on fear they might think someone else is out to get them a little bit. But what do you do in cases where someone may have a substance abuse problem, or may have a mental condition that needs to be treated, and other conditions where maybe the normal type of compromise process just doesn't work so well?
Those situations we don't mediate, and the reason that we don't is because we feel that someone with mental health issues or drug issues are not able to advocate for themselves. And at the table, it is the disputants who are making the decisions. The mediator's role is to help them identify the topics that are important, because it's usually a big jumble of multiple topics that really, when you dig down a little bit deeper, it's 2 or 3 things that they need to resolve. But if you have some sort of mental health problem or drug addiction, it's just, we don't feel that they could advocate.
So most of the cases that you deal with, you don't encounter that, though?
Well, there are cases that that's what we strive for. But there are cases where you get into the mediation and realize that someone might not be, that might be the cause of the problem, and it might be a mental health issue. You can actually stop the mediation and have a conversation about maybe the person from your family. Sometimes, in certain cases, there's another member of the family with them. You might have a separate meeting with them and say, we feel that maybe you should seek some help. But we're not in a position to direct them to any particular person. But that has happened. But they do a very good job of screening the people and the calls, and when they first come in, they're very aware of what's going on when they come to the mediation. And we're pretty much aware, the intake people are pretty much aware of who they have coming to the mediation. And for the most part,
Do you find that there is a almost blueprint for solving mediation, or is each case considered unique?
Every case is unique.
Yeah.
Mediation is a process. So when we train, and as a mediator, when you come to the table, there's a process you're going to work through. But every situation's different, and that process is very flexible.
Do you sit there and say, well, I know what the solution to this is, and I'm going to tell you what it is, or do you somehow try to get the participants to discover that answer on their own?
We ask a lot of questions, and that's how we help the participants discover what it is that's important to them and what the problems are.
Are you still steering them that way, though?
No, but you're exactly right. That's the job. That's
Mm-hmm.
the job, to help bring them together. And the further apart they are, the harder the work is. But that's the job. You're seizing on moments when you see a conciliatory remark made by one. You want to seize on that opportunity to bring them a little closer together. And the goal is to get them in a place where they can both stand each other and come to some sort of an agreement.
Well, when we continue, I want to talk about the youth aid panels and about bullying prevention, and also your success rate when we continue. Thanks again for coming in. This is great, going towards peace, going towards compromise, and away from violence and preventing violence. Up ahead, the innovative and effective youth aid panels and other solutions from the Center for Resolutions in a moment on InFocus on PHL 17. Stay tuned. InFocus continues with a look this morning at a proven local effort to resolve conflict or disagreement. Good morning. I'm Steve Highsmith. With me from the Delaware County-based Center for Resolutions are Paul Summers, the Center's Executive Director, and Tracy Hornig, who's Director of Mediation at the Center. The organization has Quaker roots, right, Tracy?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I think back in the 70s, the Concord Friends meetings were doing some work with the courts, and what they were finding is that there were certain disputes that the courts were having a difficulty addressing. And the courts were very frustrated, and so were the disputants. And those were the neighbor disputes and family disputes. So these individuals decided that they would take it upon themselves to find a way to serve the community, and they developed out of that a mediation program. That's where we actually originated, and over the course of 4 or 5 years, we worked under the umbrella of Friends Concord Meeting, and then we later spun off as Center for as Community Dispute Settlement. And as we grew, we changed the name to Center for
And you have a
Resolutions.
staff, but you also rely a lot on volunteers, right?
Oh, absolutely. Volunteers do all the work. The mediators are volunteers. In our Youth Aid panel, the panelists are volunteers. We couldn't exist without them. We basically just try to help them do what they do well, from a training point of view as well as a paperwork point of view.
And you're the expert on training. Do you do the training of the volunteers?
I actually do the training. I do the mediation training, and I also, and not only for our volunteers, but we have attorneys who come through our training. We have HR professionals, individuals who are looking to set up their own mediation practice, people who are looking to improve their communication skills.
So with their own employees, for example, as they settle workplace differences and others, you offer that kind of training for them?
We do. We actually go into organizations as well and train their staff.
So not only are you a mediator yourself as an organization and you offer programs, but you also offer training so that others outside of your program
Yes.
can handle this on their own in their own organizations.
It's a way of us getting our mission.
How do you know you're successful? Let's say you come to an agreement. Are you able to track later on that they're still getting along 6 months later?
Not always, but we do have a program where we will do follow-up. So, without being intrusive, we will send a letter out 6 months later and just letting them know that for our records, we're just looking for a way to kind of keep track of how well people are doing, and they'll reply. Oftentimes, at the end of a mediation, we will write into the agreement that in 2 months, someone's going to give them a follow-up call and see how things are going. If it's going well, great. If not, they agree to come back to mediation.